Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again. We are back with you live here on the British Triathlon Facebook page and also hopefully being listened to by some of our riders online on Zwift. This is the fourth round now of the British Triathlon Tri-Nations Challenge, monthly race and a little bit of fun really between members of the home nation, so Triathlon England, Triathlon Scotland and Welsh Triathlon. We've got a range of courses up on Zwift each month, and this month we remain in France, but we move to the capital. We are on some of the most famous cycling roads in all of professional cycling. We're in the heart of the French capital of Paris, and we're on the Champs-Elysees. I'm sure many of you will have been watching the Tour de France just a couple of weeks ago now. And of course, the Champs-Elysees famous for that last day sprint. So we will see over the next, I guess, 30 to 40 minutes or so, whether we have any potential Wout van Aert fans looking to take the sprint on the Champs-Elysees as the legendary Belgian cyclist did, preventing Mark Cavendish from adding an extra Tour stage. But we are counting down now, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are about to get underway with race 4 in the British Triathlon Tri-Nations Challenge. So we are now underway. So should be fairly obvious, but just for clarity, we will have 3 colours of jerseys tonight. They all, each of the nations starts in a different starting pen, all be the same distance, and they will all come together very quickly. So we've got the Scots, of course, in blue, Team Wales in red, and Triathlon England are in the sort of white stroke light grey colours. So very, very early stages now. As we always see with Zwift racing, big power at the start. Tonight's course, the total distance of the event is 29.7 kilometres. It will be 4 full laps of what's called the Champs-Elysees circuit on the Paris map on Zwift. So we actually start off with about 3.2 kilometres that actually brings us to the official start of the loop, and then it'd be 4 loops from that point. And because this Zwift map is actually based on and a replica of a real life course, it means that we will hopefully, as they do on the Tour de France, if you've ever watched Eurosport on those long afternoons where nothing seems to happen for about 6 hours, and the commentator will then take you through the local cheeses and whatnot. Well, I've been doing a little bit of research here just on a couple of things that we'll see, but we'll save that for a little bit later. At the moment we are on screen and we are looking from the perspective of Chris Walker. Now Chris is back for his 3rd consecutive race in the series. If regular listeners may well know, Chris, very, very accomplished athlete, in his 50s now, but he has been to 5 Commonwealth Games representing Gibraltar in both triathlon and cycling. He actually took the win in the 2nd of the Tri-Nations series. So that was race 2, where we were, get your mind back, John, that were Innsbruck. We then went from Innsbruck to northern France to the leg breaker course, the Caspat course, and sprint finish there. On that occasion, Chris had to just give best on the final meters to James Wilson. James was on the start line tonight. Just looking through the names, I don't think I can see him on that list having started tonight, but we will keep an eye out. But up at the front now we've got nice group. We've got Chris there in the red and the black, so he's representing Triathlon Wales as his home nation. We've got 4 riders from Triathlon England, and then just behind a little group of Scottish athletes as well. So if you are completely new to this, and you've done that thing that we all do at various points, you've gone onto Facebook and you've stumbled across something and thinking, what on earth am I looking at here? There's what appears to be a cartoon-like cycling race, and someone is talking over it as if it's real. Well, it is real in a sort of virtual sense. So just a very quick background for those that are completely new. Zwift is an online cycling app that enables cyclists to train and race from the comfort, or should it be discomfort, of their own home. Each of the riders will be riding their own bike on what's called a smart trainer or a turbo trainer or a smart bike. And basically, through the wonders of technology, the power outputs from that bike that they're riding and their smart trainer will connect to the Zwift app, and all of these riders will be based all over the UK, potentially all over the world, and in real time can actually race each other. And tonight we're doing so on the map of the Champs-Elysees course. So just looking there, we just come up to 3.2k. So just as I was giving you a little bit explained there, we did go under that orange archway. So that was the official start of the lap. So from that point, it will be 4 laps of 6.6 kilometers each. So at the moment, it is Mr. Jennings. That's Ben Jennings. He is leading the way. Now, Ben is one of our athletes that has done all 3 of the previous races. So good to have you back, Ben. If you are doing, as we know, a number of riders have done with us, both riding and listening to the stream at the same time. Maybe got another screen up. Very, very pleased to have you back. Doing a great job at the moment. Keep up the good work. So the little section that they're doing at the moment there, just to give you a real life perspective on a virtual world, if you like, they're heading west in Paris. So they're heading up towards the Arc de Triomphe. So all of this section is on the famous cobbles, or the pavé, in central Paris. So this is a slight uphill section. So if you look up in the top right hand corner, at all times you'll get a little percentage. At the moment it was 3%, it's just gone to 2%, 1% at the moment. So what that will do is just give you a visual representation of what the current gradient is of the course that the riders are on. Now that gradient does then have an impact. So we talked earlier about the power outputs from the smart bikes or the smart trainers that the riders are on transferring to Zwift. Well, in the same way, those gradients will also get sent back to the trainers that the riders are on. So just as you would in the real world when you're out cycling and you're going up a hill and all of a sudden it feels a little bit harder, having to push more effort to keep the same pace, or you're slowing down, etc. Well, that is exactly what happens on Zwift. So it's a really complicated but incredibly clever system, hugely popular with so many cyclists. So we're just coming up right to the far end now. Just saw the Arc de Triomphe. So this is what is known as the Place de l'Étoile. So we're just going round the Arc de Triomphe, around that roundabout section. Not sure roundabout is the appropriate term, but the circular road anyway that goes around the Arc de Triomphe. We'll be back on the Champs-Elysees, and then we'll be heading now eastwards and back down what will be obviously the same roads, but on the other side of the road. And what you will start to see over the next couple of minutes is on the top right hand corner, you'll start to see some negative numbers appear in the percentage, and that means that we will be on as you would expect, if we did a slight uphill on the way up to the Arc de Triomphe, we will now see the speeds increasing and the resistance on the trainers or the smart bikes that the riders are on starting to ease off, and the power required to maintain the speed or going faster for the same power, just as it would be in the real world, is what we will be seeing. So still a group at the front. We're currently seeing that front group from the perspective of Kieran McManus. Kieran from Scotland. He is another one of our regulars. He was 9th last time out in race 3, also in France, so he'll be looking to see whether he can move up the rankings a little bit further tonight. So on the right hand side of the screen, again, for those that are relatively new, you'll get the list of riders, or it'll show you a group of riders. So at the moment, for example, at the top we've got is that Pearson? Apologies, my screen has just gone slightly difficult to read, but yeah, Chris Walker second, etc. So under each of the riders' names to the left, you'll get a little timing number, which will show you how far ahead or behind they are from the leaders. So what you can see is that there's a group there of around about 7 or 8 riders there within about 7 seconds. So going from Jennings all the way down to Ward, and then there's then a gap to Pearson, and then bigger gap through to the next group, which looks as though it's began by Jolly, Holmes, Miller, etc. So exactly as we're seeing on screen in terms of a visual representation of those riders, that ties up with the numbers on the right hand side. So it looks as though now we are right at the what would be now the far east end of the course. This is around the gardens area, which is the known as the Jardin des Tuileries, on the Place de la Concorde. So we're now seeing from the perspective of Craig Beale. So Craig, again, another one of our regulars, actually did really well last time, 4th in the blue colours of Scotland, last time out on the Caspat course on the Northern France map within Zwift. So welcome back, Craig, doing a great job at the moment. Will be interesting to see whether he can add another victory to Scotland. So we've actually had one for each nation so far in the overall ranking. So for our men at least, the first race was Will Newbury for Triathlon England. Second race, Chris Walker for Welsh Triathlon, and last time out was James Wilson for Triathlon Scotland. So the honours being shared out by the home nations. So we're just going under the underpass. So you'll, no doubt, if you are Tour de France fans, you will be very familiar with this. This is often the route that the peloton takes when they first enter Paris. It's almost like the before they get to this point, that last stage is pretty ceremonial, to be honest. You see the riders regularly drinking champagne, etc. beforehand, and there's almost an unwritten rule of yeah, we don't race until we get to Paris on that final stage, and then once you go under that underpass and you're onto the course, well, all bets are off and the racing starts. So that underpass is actually that what did actually represent the very far eastern section of the Champs-Elysees course. So we are now on the flat, but we will be heading back now up to the Arc de Triomphe. So we're on the flat section now, but then that will soon start to gradually increase. So I think I mentioned before, the little section before we officially started those 4 laps was 3.2 kilometers, with the lap at 6.6 for each lap. So a bit of on the fly maths. So once we get to around 9.8 kilometers, if my maths is correct, then you should see our leaders go under that archway. So that will just confirm both for you and for me that I have got the map structure right. So that will be the completion once we hit that point at around 9.8 kilometers. That will be the completion of both the lead-in part to begin the lap and then the first of the 4 laps. So it will be 3 to go. 14 minutes on the clock already. 8.6 kilometers done, and we are looking at Ashley Jolly. Now, Ashley was our overall female winner last time in the 3rd race and did very well overall. I think she was a 10th rider across the line as well. So great to have you back, Ashley. Hopefully you are able to hear us if you are listening to the coverage as well as riding as well. Ashley is moving very, very well. Just a little bit back of our leaders at the front of the race. But pretty sure that Ashley, as she was last time, is at the moment the first of our female riders on this 4th race of the British Triathlon Tri-Nations Challenge. So if you are watching and think, actually, I'd quite like to have a go at this, then you are welcome. All Home Nations members, it's free to take part in this. Doesn't matter what your ability level is, we welcome you all. We've got some top age group athletes at the front, but these events are really designed for a little bit of informal fun, I guess. Bit of racing action, but more for participation, bit of banter between the home nations. So do keep an eye out on the British Triathlon Facebook page. The next race is actually on the 14th of September, so we've got 2 more left. Next month we will be on the New York course, and if you log into your Home Nations account, then that will be the location which you can just join up, join the event within Zwift. And then next month it could be you that we are talking about. So I think we are coming up now to the completion of that first full lap. Just looking here, we've got Holmes on the screen. Apologies, I haven't got to hand your first name, but that would suggest that I think, there we go. So just that's what I was going to explain. So just gone under that orange archway, so that will be the finish line. So that does confirm that my understanding of the course is right. So from this point, 3 laps of 6.6 kilometers. So apologies, that's David Holmes searching around here through my pre-event research and the Zwift app. So I'm pretty sure David has been riding with us at least 1 or 2 times over the previous races. So if that is correct, welcome back, David. Keep up the good work, and always a pleasure to see you here taking part in these events and putting out some good power at the moment. So top left hand corner, you've got some stats. So where it's showing, for example, 289, 377, etc. That's giving you a real-time representation of the power output that David is doing on his indoor trainer. So that, in simple terms, power is broadly how hard are you pushing the pedals, represented in power measurement. So that would be watts. That's transferred into the Zwift application. Each athlete will also submit into that what their height is, what their weight is, and then all of that information goes into a pretty complex formula, and then that gives you a realistic representation on screen of the speed with which you're traveling. So it's not purely who puts the most power will go the fastest, because all of the things being equal, a 6'4" muscular man would generally put out more power than an 8 stone very slim woman, for example, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they will go faster. So lots of other things come into play. It's how the degree of power versus your weight, so that power to weight ratio, what the terrain is, and all sorts of stuff. And Zwift is really very, very good at being able to give you a very close representation within this virtual environment to what you would experience if you were racing in the real world. So great name on screen. This is I Swim, I Bike, I Run. I don't have your real life name, but I know you are representing Chippenham Tri. Quite appropriate, I guess, in a virtual world. We have a virtual name, but I Swim, I Bike, I Run pretty much sums up our triathlon. So again, moving along strongly at the moment. So we've also got the heart rate connected. So depending on who the athlete is, they may be wearing a heart rate monitor. So in this case, our athlete from Chippenham Tri, looks like he's actually putting in a bit of a sprint there. There is a little sprint section. So as well as taking part in the race, he wanted to just go for that little sprint section. So that's why you saw all of a sudden his power go from around about 190 massively up to 500. For a moment there, I was wondering what was going on. So this is one of the other things that does happen within Zwift on the courses. You can train and race in so many different ways. You can, just as you would in a real world, you can go out for a bike ride with no particular objective and just get on. And in Zwift world, that's what we call just ride. You can do a formal structured training session with intervals and etc., as you would if you were doing a formal turbo trainer session at home. Well, Zwift can provide that, or you can come and race in an event like this. There's so many different options available, and that's really what has made indoor training generally, and Zwift in particular, so popular, particularly over the last 18 months when many of us have been confined for reasons that you don't need me to explain, to home and access to getting outside and the training that perhaps when the weather is good we all prefer to do has not been available. Well, Zwift and other indoor training platforms and applications such as Zwift have been a real godsend. So I think we're now going back up to the front of the race, and no surprise at all, we've got Chris Walker up there. So as we said, Chris, winner of race 2, second in a sprint finish last time, but he has company here, and right with him is Mike Weeks. Now Mike is one of our ever-present athletes, and in doing my little bit of research beforehand, he has been improving every race. So race 1 he was 8th, race 2 7th, race 3 up to 5th. So I was thinking beforehand, well, is he going to keep that trend going? Well, at the moment, doing a fantastic job. And if you're mixing it with Chris Walker, that is a fantastic position to be in. So I did talk a little bit earlier, just on the left-hand side, just caught a glimpse of it there. That was what's known as the obelisk of Luxor. And believe it or not, it is the oldest monument in Paris. Who knew that? Well, I can tell you that I didn't know that until probably about 25 minutes ago. But that's a 23-meter tall obelisk there. It's covered in Egyptian hieroglyphics, and at one point it was actually based outside of the Luxor temple in Egypt, but now is part of the Place de la Concorde, and it is within the Jardin des Tuileries, which is on that far end of the course. So there you go. Did say that we would bring you a little bit of culture as well as cycling. So we've just gone under that orange archway. So that will be for the group that we're on. Just looking at Kieran McManus. So that will be the end of their second lap there. So 2 laps to go for Kieran. So each lap 6.6 kilometers. So we've just got about 13 kilometers left. So Kieran, another one of our regulars. He was raced with us last month and was 9th across the line at that point. And moving along strongly at the moment. So within that group, we've got Ben Jennings, who is the perspective we're looking from at the moment. So Ben putting out some decent power there, 330 watts, with still 12 or 13k to go. That is some serious numbers. So the pace definitely on at the front. Up ahead of this group, looks like we've still got Mike Weeks and Chris Walker, but this trio, we've got Ben Jennings, Kieran McManus, and who is the third one? That is Palmer. Sam Palmer, apologies. So yeah, Sam is another regular, top 10 in both the first and the third race. Just a little bit slow there. I'm just picking up the names. Hopefully, and I'm sure the clarity of the picture from where you are looking on Facebook is probably excellent. Just our little setup that we have here to allow us to be able to do the commentary just at times means that our picture is not quite as clear as the one that I'm sure you will be seeing. So if you're watching on and screaming, "Come on, John, just read the names on the right-hand side," then that is why. So Arc de Triomphe, famous archway, just on the left. So great overhead shot there. So that is effectively the chase group of 3. They are making their way around the Arc de Triomphe at the far west end of this Champs-Elysees course. What a great picture that is. So I have to say, great job by Andrew, who is working also remotely with me here to enable us to bring you both the pictures and the commentaries, managing to pick up some great angles there. To actually, it's almost like a drone-like image there to look down on the virtual Arc de Triomphe. So if the speed looks like it's increasing here, and you can see just at the top in the middle in the white section, which we call the heads-up display. The left-hand number is the kilometers an hour, so we're up to 45, 46 kilometers an hour, and that's because we're on a slight descent here. So although the Champs-Elysees itself is not particularly steep, there is a gradual 1.3 kilometer climb all the way up to the Arc de Triomphe, which the riders will definitely be feeling. So when you then make that turn, a very welcome bit of respite, not having to put quite so much power down on the return leg, and consequently the speed going up, as we're seeing here. We're getting close to 50 kilometers an hour. With our 3 riders in positions 3, 4 and 5, I think just ahead of this trio. It looks like we've still got Chris Walker and Mike Weeks, and right on cue. There you go, we can see them, so they are still together. So just as it was in our 3rd race a month ago, when at this point it was also Chris, but Chris was joined by Scotland's James Wilson. Well, he doesn't have Scotland for company, he has England in the form of Mike Weeks. So Mike, as we said, has been doing all of the races up to now. He's got better every race, 8th, 7th, 5th. So if he can just continue what he's doing here for another lap and a half, he's certainly going to be improving. Will he be able to take the win against the experience of Chris Walker, though? That remains to be seen. Let's hope it's a close finish. We've had that every race so far. Each of the 3 races has come down to a sprint finish, and to be decided right in the final meters, which is always good, isn't it, from a spectator point of view, irrespective of whether you're supporting Wales, England, Scotland, or indeed either of these individuals. Always like to see a bit of a sprint finish going on, provides a bit of excitement. Let's be honest, after the Olympic Games finished at the weekend, I don't know about you, but I've definitely been 2 days on, I'm already missing my fix of 24-hour wall-to-wall sport. Definitely noticed that last night. Instead of waking up in the middle of the night and watching speed climbing, well, wake up in the middle of the night, turn the TV on, and what do we find? Reruns of House Doctor from 17 years ago. Oh dear, oh dear. Let's hope we can fast forward the next 2 weeks and get to the Paralympics, and then we can enjoy it all over again. Anyway, we are still with our leaders here, so we're now right again at the far end of the course. So this is the east section of the course, so just gone under the underpass, so we're in and around the Place de la Concorde now, and the garden areas. So Mike is still holding on to Chris in front. We'll just keep our eyes peeled over the next few kilometers. Will either of these riders try to make a breakaway, or will it come down to that sprint? So 22.4 kilometers already. We've got 29.7 in total with a 6.6 kilometer lap, so that means that our riders are already now on the return leg up the Champs-Elysees, heading back towards the Arc de Triomphe. So they will not be too far away now from coming under for the final time within the race what will be the finishing archway. So if we can just stick with just our leading two just till that point, can at least make sure that I've got my stats right. So I think in about 100 meters time, if I'm not mistaken, we should see what will be the finishing archway. So there we go, it's coming into view now. So yeah, we are all on track, we know where we are. So effectively, if we were on an athletics track, that would represent the Beale. 1 lap to go at the front of the field. So it is Mike Weeks and Chris Walker. So let's see, maybe could we go back to that second group and just have a look if we're still together. So yeah, looks like we still have our 2 Triathlon England riders and our Scot. I think they are also coming up to that archway now as well. So I would say that's probably too big a gap for any of this trio to catch with just, well, actually it's going to be 6 kilometers or just over now to the finish, to our leading duo. But we do appear to be set for potentially a great sprint finish for first and second, and then a trio of athletes here going for that final, can we say podium spot, virtual podium, isn't it, as we are in the wonderful virtual world of Zwift. So it's a slight uphill from the roads that we're on now. So this is really the final time heading on the pavé, the cobbles of the Champs-Elysees back up towards the Arc de Triomphe, which sits right in the middle of the Place de l'Étoile. So one end we have the Place de la Concorde, which is where the obelisk and the gardens are, the Jardin des Tuileries. But then at the Arc de Triomphe end, that is the Place de l'Étoile. So once we see the Arc de Triomphe, which we can see now in the distance for our chasing group, that will be the final time that we go round one of those iconic sites of Paris that we are relatively familiar with as Brits, given that it's just over the channel, but we're certainly going to become even more familiar with over the next 3 years, and 3 years which I'm sure will pass extremely quickly on the countdown to Paris 2024 and the next Olympic Games. Already looking forward to that after the excitement of what was it, 16 or 17 days of sporting action at Tokyo. Hope you enjoyed it. Of course, always helped when our sport, triathlon, and not just from a British perspective, but I think from a global perspective, we put on a great show. And finishing with that mixed relay debuting on the programme of the Olympic Games was, in my opinion, probably the best advert for swim bike run that we probably ever had. A fantastic format, but not just a fantastic format, a truly brilliant race. Extremely exciting all the way through. And just when you thought France were out of it, Vincent Louis, well, he had us all worried a little bit, didn't he, with his efforts. Bridging back up to Alex Yee. So we're now back with Chris Walker. So this is the front of the field, and we're looking backwards from where Chris is. So has Chris put the power down and managed to drop Mike Weeks? So where we've seen Chris and Mike absolutely locked together. At the moment, at least, looks like Chris is on his own. So Chris is now on the descent now. So there is Mike. So there definitely has been a little bit of an effort from Chris to get away there. So they're both now on the very fast and final descent back from the Arc de Triomphe. They're heading back towards the Place de la Concorde area where the underpass is and where we'll see that obelisk, the obelisk of Luxor, the Egyptian hieroglyphics monument. But Chris Walker at the moment seems to be using his experience, and what an experience it is. 3 times he has been to the Commonwealth Games representing Gibraltar in triathlon, twice in cycling as well, an age group world champion. I think he's been to Kona twice as well, so he is an accomplished athlete and still performing at a very high level, even though he is above 50, let's just say that. But there's nothing wrong with 50. At least I hope there's not, because that's going to be where I am heading in October this year. Unfortunately, I'm not now. I won't be in October and never have been remotely as fast or as talented as Chris Walker. So that's why I will leave Chris, Mike Weeks, and all these other fantastic riders to do the athletics, and I will hopefully try and keep you amused and provide some entertainment, accompaniment, and maybe even at times someone to shout at, because that's what people do to commentators, isn't it? From afar. But yeah, horses for courses, I know my place. So just looking up at that heads-up display at the top that gives us all of the summary data, 27.6 kilometers for Mike Weeks. So we're only 2 kilometers away now from the finish. Chris Walker has seemingly put the power down on that final lap, pulled away. So we're very soon going to be into the final mile, if we can mix our imperial and our metric measurements up. So we'll be, for the final time, our athletes will be heading around the roads of the Place de la Concorde, through the garden area, through and under the underpass sections. So it does get quite steep there. You just see the orange number just flashed up briefly on the top right hand corner for the percentages that represents the gradient of the roads. So that is a quite steep little, it's only a short climb out of the underpass, but proved no problem for Chris. He is now just about to enter the final kilometre. So there we go, 28.7. He's got 1 kilometre to go. He's riding strongly, maintaining around about 330, 340 watts consistently, and with a lead and maintaining that sort of power. That is going to be pretty tough to close down. You can see he's working as well. Heart rate is up, but it's also consistent as well, around 165. So Chris has been in many a sporting competition. He knows what he can do, how fit he is. And so there we go for the final time. Just on the left hand side, that is that Egyptian monument. 3,300 years old, apparently. Things that you didn't think that you would learn this evening. So I think Chris is now on the final straight. He's just got a couple of 100 meters to go. Looks like, unless there's going to be some remarkable sprint from behind, Chris Walker is set to add another win and go first, second, first over 3 consecutive races. So congratulations, Chris Walker, representing Welsh Triathlon, tonight's winner of the British Triathlon Tri-Nations Challenge. And we just flick back to Mike Weeks, who does continue to improve. He's been an ever-present. He's gone 8th, 7th, 5th. Tonight he finishes 2nd place. Congratulations, Mike Weeks. We continue to move back through the field, and looks like we do still have that 3 athletes together. So remember, we had 2 white jerseys from Triathlon England, 1 Scot, who I think was Kieran McManus. So we've got Palmer, McManus, and I think it was Jennings, if I'm not mistaken. So they are 29.4. So they have got, they're into just about 200 meters to go. I wonder if they're listening to us. They're all together. They're in the last 200 meters. We're going to see the big power start to go. So Scotland goes on the attack there. He's built up the power, 700 watts, 800 watts, absolutely giving it full gas. This is Kieran McManus. Is he going to hold it to the line? Kieran McManus from Scotland, and he takes 3rd. Congratulations, Kieran. So Kieran 9th last time. He adds a 3rd place this time around. So very close finish there for 3rd, 4th and 5th. We move back now to another Scottish athlete. This is Craig Beale. Craig is also no stranger to these races. He was 4th last time out. So Craig a little bit further back this time, maybe enjoying a little bit more of a relaxed Tuesday evening this time. Still putting out a pretty healthy 300 watts though, and that heart rate remaining nice and consistent at around 155 beats per minute. So he will certainly have earned his dinner, glass of wine or whatever will be on the schedule post Zwift and hopefully post shower, etc. So it goes under that underpass. So if you just keep your eyes on the top right hand corner, you'll just see an orange number just flash up on that percentage of the steepness. So it just goes up that last bit. There we go. So we go 4, 5, 6, 7%. So just that little rise just to take you out of that underpass or subway section. That will just get the legs burning before you're back on the flat and rapidly approaching the final kilometers. So this is the end of Craig's 4th lap. And looking down, looks like he's very clear. In 6th place, we've got Paul Miller in 7th, but about 57 seconds back. So there's going to be no chance for Paul to catch. So Craig can relatively take it as hard or easy as he wants over these final 800 meters. So half a mile to go for Craig, but still putting out good numbers here. I mean, you know, 280 to 300 watts, that is still some significant power to be holding, and if he's been maintaining that for what we are well over 3/4 of an hour now, that is some significant effort. But hopefully Craig will have had a good workout this evening, and hopefully just that added incentive of doing it within A little bit of a racing environment, maybe with some commentary over the top if he's managed to set up a separate screen or listening in via the Facebook page. Good to have you back, Craig. So he is just about 100 meters or so away from finishing. So Craig Beale from Triathlon Scotland, just about to come under the finish line and crossing the line. There's also going to be a Scottish rider next. Paul Miller, again, another one of our regulars. Paul was 5th in the second race, which was held on the Innsbruck map within Zwift. So Innsbruck in Austria. So that was the home of the UCI Road World Championships 2 or 3 years ago. So in partnership with the event, Zwift created a replica of some of the roads that we used on in Innsbruck on that Innsbruck ring, and we enjoyed the virtual visit to Austria a couple of months ago. A month from now we will be also visiting a different place, again virtually, but we will be crossing the Atlantic over the pond to New York for our race on the 14th of September. But well done to our latest finisher, Paul Miller, representing Triathlon Scotland. So here, next up, also Scotland. So this is going to be our, again, for the at least the second race, Ashley Jolly, our first female athlete across the line. So just a few seconds behind. Ashley crosses the line, and here is David Holmes. So everything going quite well here. We were trying as best we could to try and cover as many of the athletes as possible, all both through the race and at the finish line. So it does take a little bit of tech and work, fortunately not from me, but Andrew is doing a great job behind the scenes here to flick between the riders. David Holmes also within the final kilometre. So 29k comes up. Total distance is going to be 29.7. Got the obelisk of Luxor just on the left-hand side, which sits within the garden area on the Place de la Concorde. So again, we've got another fantastic shot here. This is one of those sort of drone-based shots, so you'll be familiar with that corner. If you are a Tour de France fan, that is that final bend that brings that peloton, which at that point on that final lap are probably doing about 60k an hour, absolutely charging towards the finish line for the unofficial Sprinters World Championships. And that's the same virtual roads that David Holmes is on now. The finish line is in sight. We've got the archway there, and David comes home. Well done, David. Hopefully we will see you again next month. And we're now back with, I think this is going to be our final rider on the course with the best name. So representing Chippenham Tri, it is Mr. I Swim, I Bike, I Run. And you're doing a great job this evening. So into the last half K, so 400 meters to go now. Does that bend? So we've only got less than one lap of an athletics track. And I swim, I bike, I run from Chippenham Tri. Can now see that finish archway in the distance, and that will bring the curtain down on race 4 of the British Triathlon Tri-Nations Challenge here. Fantastic. Great job, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Hope you if you are taking part, hope you've enjoyed your racing. If you are watching, hope you got some amusement, some fun, maybe even some education on obelisks and places in Paris. And if nothing else, you could probably laugh at my pronunciation of some of those French locations. But our next race, as a reminder, 14th of September. So it's going to be a Tuesday night once again. So that will be our penultimate race. We have one more in October, but the time for the next race, 14th of September, same time, 7:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night. If you want to sign up, it's free for any Home Nations user, member. Sorry, if you're a Zwift user, just follow the instructions on the British Triathlon Facebook page, British Triathlon website. Just log in through your account through the British Triathlon website. Very easy to then find the event within your member offers area. I think offhand it's within the discount section, but I'm sure I will be corrected if that's not exactly right. But yeah, please do come and join us next month. Hope you've enjoyed this evening, and I think with all of our riders across the line, we say a big thank you to everybody for taking part, to you guys for watching, and we will be back in a month's time. And until then, good evening and have a good night.